Hi, I'm Dave, welcome to the channel. In this week's tech bit, a bit of midweek maintenance, I'm going to service my Revoslot Mk1 Escort. Now, I know other people have done this, but this is as much me documenting my journey through slot cars as it is an instructional video for anybody else. So, other people have done it, I'm going to do it. Now, this car has had quite a lot of use. These tyres really have kind of run out of time, so much so that they've worn so low the bottom of the car is scraping on the track. The braids will do. Some people will probably say they won't, but I think they'll do another turn. They're not hanging out or anything. So, as always, tools you will need: a crosshead screwdriver, 1.5mm hex, a stiff brush, some new Revoslot tyres, RS217 part number, some contact cleaner, some oil, a little bit of grease, and of course some coffee. Cheers. Right, let's take the body off here using those lovely slotted fittings that Revoslot came up with. Brilliant idea. Now, as you can see, the tyres have worn down and most of the tyres are inside the body shell. So the first thing to do is just sweep it out. That's quite a lot of bits of tyre there, isn't it? And quite a lot of the rest of the tyres is on the chassis, so let's get rid of the worst of it. Now I'm just going to sort of take everything apart in the middle of the chassis for the time being. There's reasons for this, it'll all become apparent. The first thing I'm going to do is just take the guide out, and part of the reason I'm taking that out is because there's a spring there, and lots of people have been telling me to take the spring out because you don't really need it and it's not doing anything to help. So that's part of the reason that's come out now. Now, because I use blue tack to stick everything down with, I can just pull the sensor and the chip off the chassis and just kind of move it out of the way. I'm going to undo 3 motor screws so that the motor comes out as well. Pick off the remaining bits of blue tack, have a bit of a clear up. Now I'm going to take the back tyres off because they've had it. And I'll take these front tyres off because when I clean the car, I don't want to get contact cleaner on the tyres. Anyway, as a comparison, the rear tyres did start off the same size as the front tyres. I have definitely got all of my use out of those. Yeah, that's worn down. Bit more brushing to get more debris off. And then I'm just going to get a little plastic pot, because the spray-on contact cleaner removes all the dirt and all the grease off everything, and you can spray it all over the circuit board. It'll actually do it a favour, and you can spray it in the motor and it'll do it a favour. But it will also remove all of the grease and all of the dirt from inside the bearings. So having done that, the next thing I'm going to do is change this 12 tooth pinion that came on this Escort, because everybody says you should put the 9 tooth on like the other Revoslots have got. And I'm going to use a slotted 9 tooth pinion gear because you can't get Revoslot ones around here at the moment, probably because everybody's bought them to put in the Mk1 Escort to replace the 12 tooth, but they fit. So there are other videos on pinion pullers, but here's a quick one. You put it under there and screw the pointy bit down on the end of the motor spindle, and it pulls the pinion off. And putting the new pinion back on is the really fiddly bit, because you have to hold everything in line, and every time you tighten it up it slips off a little bit. And I'm sure there's some clever method of holding all this in place, but I don't know what it is, so you can watch me struggle for a little bit. But once it does go, it will start to go, and it might go slightly like offline, but you can loosen it off and press around the other side and straighten it up, and eventually you can just push it and the pinion will go down straight. And that's the pinion changed. It's quite a lot smaller. It gears the car down, but it will stop the rear tyres spinning up so much, which might stop them wearing out quite so quickly. So screw the motor back in and just set the gear mesh a little bit. There should be a tiny bit of play in it, but not very much. Use the blue tack to stick the chip and the LED back in again. I like the blue tack because I kind of figure it cushions the circuit board from the shocks on the chassis a little bit, which surely is going to make it last longer. And then because we use contact cleaners to get rid of all the dirt and all the grease from everywhere, oil everything back up, all the bearings. The front tyres barely touch the track, so as they should, so they haven't really worn, and they're a much harder compound. And these rear tyres are 30 Shore. They do an even stickier 20 Shore one, but on my track the standard 30 Shore are fine. And these tyres are pretty round. They've got a casting line down the middle of them, which some people swear about and try and sand off, and I'm not going to, because I actually find it useful. More of that in a minute. So as you can see, that's the old versus the new. Snap the body back on. I will still not for a long time get over how brilliant that is. One last thing, just a bit of car polish. There, shiny as a shiny thing. finish off the coffee. There's one thing I didn't do, so I'm doing it now, okay? This is how I put the grease back on the pinion. If you put it on the ground gear and just run it. Now, how to bed in new Revoslot tyres. My advice is don't sand them. Just let it run as a ghost car on, you know, just enough of a setting to let the tyres work a little round some of the tighter corners, and just leave it. After a period of time, the car will stop chattering so much on the track. You'll hear the difference. As it's worn that little centre line off the rear tyres, it will start to evenly wear those really soft Shore 30 tyres. And by the time you've drunk a cup of coffee and watched the car go round, it's done. And then you can just drive it. And the more you drive it, the better the tyres get. There's no point truing them and sanding them. They're so soft they wear down. They will make themselves round in no time at all. Just put laps on the car. I have to say to everybody that recommended changing the pinion, brilliant idea. It really does help. The car is much, much more drivable now. Oops. As always, thanks for watching one of my videos. If you liked it, you'll find a button specifically for that. Please subscribe because it helps the channel, and if you hit the bell, you'll get notifications when I post new videos and community posts. And check out this slot car channel, Shotgun Dave's Slot Car Customs. A fine man, a fine moustache, and an excellent channel on scratch building and casting bodies. I really recommend it.